Hiya, I just thought I would make this video flip on the wave essay just because after looking at your drafts I've realised that losing so many double lessons with each other, there's a lot of gaps in students' understanding about this. So I'm just going to talk through it step by step so, I don't know, people are a bit more aware of what's happening. Okay. So let's look at the essay question. How has the author Morton Rue used point of view, characterization and descriptive writing to show how the powerful forces of group pressure can persuade people to give up their individual rights, causing harm to others? So your introduction should be about 100 words. Your job here is to introduce the novel and the author, give a brief 1 to 2 sentences, description of the plot, bring in the essay question and the 3 main topics of the paragraphs. So for example, you might, after you've described the plot, you might say, Morton Rue uses point of view, characterization and descriptive writing to convey how the powerful forces of group nature, blah, 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 blah. I just want to point out here, even though most of you have done the introduction right, some of you have used first person, or you have like announced what the essay will do. So don't say, in this essay I will analyze. Don't say, this essay will analyze. That's poor writing, and it's not it's not that sophisticated level of analytical writing that we're looking for at SACE level. So for your first main paragraph, which should be about 200 words, write your topic sentence, and there's an example on the task sheet which you should attempt to put in your own words. So in this paragraph you're talking about point of view. Now Morton Rue writes using third person omniscient point of view. This means that he's able to write from any character's perspective in the novel, and this is a purposeful thing that he has done. So you need to begin this paragraph by writing about how Rue has characterized both Ben and Ross to be likable characters. So as the audience, we trust these characters, we like them, and I would use a quote for each as your evidence. So for example, it's all in that first chapter, pretty much on the first page you can use a quote for Laurie. You know that Laurie was the happy girl, she was popular, she had, like you said, she has an almost perpetual smile, which means she's always happy. And whereas Ben Ross, you know, he's a contagious teacher, meaning that students get on board with what he's teaching. He's innovative, he's well liked in the school, students want to be in his class. So after this first chapter, as the reader, you like both of these characters. So as the story goes on, you sort of trust what they each believe or see about the wave. So for example, you're going on to write here that Ben Ross sees the positives of the waves. He sees that the students are disciplined now, they're handing in their homework, whereas Laurie sees the negatives. So she sees that the students are under pressure, that certain students are being bullied and so on. But because we like these two characters, as the audience, we don't know where our allegiance lies. You know, we see Ben Ross's point of view about the positives, we see Laurie's point of view about the negatives. So it's hard to take sides, we don't really know what's happening here. And this is purposeful on Rue's part because it shows how these cults and movements can happen, because there are positives for some people, even though there may be negatives for everyone that's not in that movement. For the people that are in it, there can be huge life-changing positives. So that's the point of us understanding how these things happen, how Nazi Germany could have happened. And then of course your last sentence is to link back to the essay question, which is kind of what I just did in my explanation. Your second main paragraph is about characterization, so you're going to focus on Robert for this one. Once again, about 200 words, and look at the topic sentence on the task sheet, which you should attempt to put in your own words. Once again, we are being moderated this year, so if you've all got the same topic sentence, that just looks bad. So we're talking about characterizations. Characterization means how the author writes about this character to position us as the audience to feel about this character in a certain way. So think about how Robert is written about. We are positioned to feel sorry for him. Use quotes like, he's the class loser, his shirt was always untucked, he couldn't, he had the older brother who was a high achiever, so he's living in the shadow of this older brother, and, use some sort of quote, one of those quotes. So this positions us to feel sorry for Robert. So when Robert gets involved with the wave, it affects him in a really positive way. He feels equal. There's no popularity in the class anymore. Everyone's on the same standing. They accept each other. They allow him to suddenly eat with them. But the point of Robert's character is that we learn about see, this is where it's important and where it's probably a good idea to actually quote Laurie's mother for this part of the essay, because Laurie says that Laurie's mother talks about the kind of people that are vulnerable to joining cults. And she says how, Robert is only safe as long as he's within that group. I would find that chapter, have a look. I can help you, I can give you the quote to look at if you want as well. But yeah, I think that's really important, because I think Rue's purpose in including Robert is to show us how sometimes movements do change people, in good ways. And, it's like in Nazi Germany, for a lot of the young boys that became Nazis, suddenly they had a job, they had respect. So that's sort of the connection there. And then, you talk about how does Robert help us to understand how people can be persuaded to give up their individual rights and cause harm to others. So think about how, in the end, Robert is so caught up in it that he is willing to harm others. And even though he doesn't technically hurt anyone, there is that part in the novel where he, in a threatening or sinister tone, he says, Laurie must be stopped. So he's become quite aggressive, to the point where he's even willing to be Ben Ross's bodyguard, and which implies that he's willing to harm someone that tries to get in Ben's way, I suppose. And then your last main paragraph is on descriptive writing, and I can give you lots of examples that you can use here. Once again, topic sentence on the task sheet. And just keep in mind that throughout the whole novel, Rue uses imagery, literary allusions, similes, onomatopoeia, and so on to create a tone of anxiety and creepiness to the story, and this helps the reader to understand the harmful nature of the wave. So in this paragraph, you can select one or two examples of descriptive writing to analyse and describe the tone and atmosphere it creates for the reader, and how it helps us to realise how harmful the wave is. And then at the end, link back to the essay questions. So I'll upload a page of quotes on Daymat for you to have a look at, and there's some examples there for you to choose from that you can discuss. In your conclusion, note how authors of texts are deliberate with their use of literary techniques to communicate their ideas and engage the audience. Think about Morton Rue's purpose in writing this, which was to help people understand how something like the Holocaust could have happened. And, does the wave achieve this purpose? Once again, don't use first person there, but you might comment on how the novel successfully conveys how, historical movements like the Holocaust could have happened. Just some general class feedback on the drafts. When referring to the novel title, write The Wave with a capital T for the, capital W for wave, and it must be in italics. Almost over half the class didn't do that. But if you're just referring to the movement itself when you're talking about the story, just use capitals. So The Wave should still have capitals, but no italics. When you are discussing events in the novel, you must use present tense. So, for example, Laurie is a popular pretty girl, not Laurie was a popular pretty girl. Use the word novel, not book. Remember, we're looking for that level of sophistication in your writing. So book is more of a slang type word. Use novel. Make sure that you integrate your quotes without actually using the word quote. So don't say these quotes show, or this quote, or Laurie quoted. Say, I've put in 2 examples of how you can lead into a quote. You can't just put quotes on their own. You have to actually lead into them. So you might say, this is evident when Miss Saunders says the popular thing is not always the right thing. Or you might say, Rue writes that Robert was the class loser. There's 2 examples. The essay question needs to be your heading at the top of your document. So a lot of people just didn't even put the essay question at the top. If you have written throughout the novel, 9 times out of 10 you can actually delete that. So really consider looking over your work. It's usually unnecessary and uses up your word count. And students just tend to say throughout the novel, or if it's a film, throughout the film, like over and over. It gets repeated quite a lot, so just be careful of that. And just clue into some of my editing. So if I've underlined or circled something and written expression, or sorry, EXP, that means poor expression, which means you need to word that better. It means it may not have made sense to me, or your wording of it wasn't very sophisticated. So have a careful look at that. Anyway, I'm pretty much finished now, so I hope this has helped. Please email me over the week if you're still unsure, if you want me to have a second look over anything. We're going to be starting the film this week, so there won't be much more class time to work on this, which is why I've made this video. I did just want to say something else, which I think I've forgotten, but anyway, nope, it's gone. So I hope this has helped, but if it hasn't, please come and talk to me and we can look at it further. Alright, thanks, bye.